right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Season 2, Episode 2 of Rise of the Dark Avatar, an actual play of Avatar Legends as written by Magpie Games. I'm ELH the Game Master, and joining me are my lovely players as per usual. Again, as a reminder, Wolf is on break for this month and probably for a couple weeks after, but we look forward to his return. Other than that, the only announcements I have are that there are no announcements. Isn't that fun? Anyways, let's do quick introductions, and we'll get right into play because we kind of ended on a cliffhanger. So, Aaron and Matthew, if you'd introduce yourselves, please.
Sure. Hey guys, I'm Aaron. I'm playing the Earthbender Liu Sangji. He hails from Ba Sing Se, a member of the Dai Li and former member of the White Lotus. Using the Pillar playbook. Incredibly excited to be back.
Hello everyone, my name is Matthew. I play the female waterbender Amarok, who hails from Republic City, and she is a member of, or quasi-former member of the Twin Moons, a criminal triad, and she is using the Successor playbook, trying to fight against her origin or find a place within it. And I also play Vizeth on Tuesday evenings on Star Trek Euthenia.
There you go. All right, well, we all know Benno likes coming out every episode to do this, but Benno, do the opening narration if you'd be so kind.
Water, air, fire, earth. Mastery of all four elements has always been associated with the ability to bring balance to the world. But Avatar Aang has passed away, and the new Avatar has yet to be found. In this transitional era of rapid progress and technological wonder, the world must come to rely on a new force to maintain the balance between humanity and spirits, between light and dark, yin and yang. Rava's followers would tell you that this new dark avatar should be locked away without question. Yet as a certain wise man will tell you, light and dark cannot exist without one another. There is light in the darkness, and darkness in light. Can the dark avatar truly keep the balance? Only time will tell.
All right, welcome back. So, recap of what happened in part 1. The team of Dark Avatar, the Team Dark Avatar, consisting of Ying, Amarok, Liu Sangxi, and Hoza the Shirshu, were basically living in the dregs of Republic City, the Undercroft, the lower levels, the places where you would think, bad people would live, but no, it just happened that apparently to get away from the press and everybody freaking out that airbenders have come back, that Team Dark Avatar had opted to just kind of lay low, literally. In that process, Ying brought up the question of, well, what do we do with the Twin Moon? And it came out via contact, well, I say contact, I say more of an eavesdropping old man, that two things were about to happen, that the Twin Moons were about to hold a gala of some sort of political rally, and that apparently if they needed to see someone to get information, that they could recommend one of Amarok's last contacts. That last contact happened to be Rin, the leader of the Black Blossoms Triad, and to say things got heated would be an understatement. I think you probably could have thrown about 6 more firebenders into the mix, and it still wouldn't have been enough to truly quantify the sparks that flew between Amarok and Rin. But long story short, they are definitely not getting back together, ever. Taylor Swift extends. But, the team decided to then go check out the actual political rally itself a few hours before it started so they could sneak in, maybe get to see Akun, Amarok's mother. And aside from the one butler / manservant that kind of was like, hey, do I know you? And Amarok was like, of course you know me, kind of a thing. Team Dark Avatar did get inside, and right as we left off, you were opening the door into the backstage room where supposedly Amarok's mother is awaiting, and that is where we're going to resume exactly. So when you open the door and you see inside, it is a small powder room. Now when I say small, that is perhaps not the right word. It is I'm trying to do math in my head here. It's a 30 meter by 40 meter room where you would have things like lockers, things like, I forget what they're actually called behind stage, where you like do your makeup, places for you like a troupe to sit down, do makeup, do costumes, things of that nature. But all of the space has been relegated to Akun. And since this is the first time we're seeing Akun, Matthew, if you want to describe her appearance for everyone else.
So Akun is roughly mid-50s. She looks much younger. She is about a 5'7" water tribe individual who has relatively pale tan skin. So it seems as if it's well maintained, or she stays out of the sun. She has a relatively cool demeanor to her. There's very little kind of expression or waist motion. There's a rigidity, almost like solidified ice. She has short cropped hair and sort of piercing blue eyes of the water tribe.
All right. And it's one of those things where she's sitting at a powder station. I think that's what it's called. She's sitting at a powder station currently doing her own makeup. And you see that she sees you in the reflection. And not even missing a beat, not pausing what she's doing, she says, "Well, come in, you're letting the cold air in."
And you see Amaruk is almost frozen there for just a moment, her fingers white-knuckling on the door handle. Whether that's from fear or rage is a little bit unclear. And then it's washed away as if with the tides, and she steps inside quite coolly, examines the room, and basically presents herself to her mother.
All right. Let's do a quick check. Lu Songshi, how closely are you following in?
Lu is not going to be following too close behind, so he's going to take up a position midway between the door and where Amaruk is going to meet his mother, and he's going to stay outside of that, I guess, sort of intimate radius that they're gonna share with one another.
Okay. Where do you want Ying to be positioned? Because she's kind of looking to you two for advice where to stand, and she'll stay by the door if you want, or she can wait outside. Your guys' call.
I would probably have her just next to me.
Next to you. Okay.
And Amaruk is not paying any attention to them whatsoever.
So Akun, still doing her makeup, says, "Well, I must say, I expected a visit from you quite sooner than this, after you appeared in the paper. Quite a nice op-ed, by the way. I did like that, what was his name? Master Tenzin? That airbender on that island? I did enjoy how enthused he was that the airbenders were back. Can't wait to have a few in my triad. Airbenders are ever so useful." And then she closes the powder case and turns in her stool to look at you with those piercing blue eyes. "So why are you here now, child? What reason are you darkening my doorstep?"
Well, Mother, we have unfinished business.
By my count, we have no further business. You spurned the affection I gave you. You turned away the fiancé I set up for your benefit. And you also ran away to join the White Lotus, who, again, based on the op-ed I read, didn't exactly treat you all that well. So, honestly, at this point, I don't see that I owe you anything, or that you owe me anything.
And Amaruk pauses, looking down at her hands for a moment. She makes some strange little gesture of discomfort, you're not entirely sure, and then looks up at her mother again and says, "No, Mother, I do owe you a great deal. I owe you for my care, my education, and you are quite right. Those are things that I spurned. It would be... I didn't tell my fiancé about my decision to leave because I was ashamed. And were I not to confront you now, it would be because of shame as well."
Hold that thought, because I actually have to look at your sheet, because I know exactly what your mother wants to do. I just have to see which it is. All right, so yeah, your center is currently over there. I think she is going to basically turn to you and begin to say something, but as she does this, she's going to be trying to shift your balance towards tradition. Now, to make sure we do it right this time, because we did it slightly wrong last time, when you are going to be resisting an NPC shifting your balance, you're rolling 2d6 flat. You do have a +1 from chat, but again, we're just going to do this vanilla. We'll keep that +1 forward for a different roll. So you're just going to roll 2d6, and then based on that result, we'll see what happens. And Foundry is being a little bit slow tonight, so if it doesn't go when you hit enter, all right. Hey, there he goes. All right, so on a 7, you get to choose one of the following. You can either clear a condition or mark growth by immediately acting to prove them wrong, which, you know, I'll role play out what she says and then you can do whatever. You can shift your balance towards the opposite principle, which for you would mean you'd shift towards progress. Or you can learn what their principle is if they have one. What I would say is that you being the daughter of this character, this NPC, you have a good inkling of what her principle is, but if you want to be extra sure, you could simply ask and I would tell you. But what this looks like in the roleplay, in the fiction, is your mother says, yes, that's right, you threw away all the teachings, all of the things that I gave you. For what, freedom? And look what freedom's bought you. Nothing, it's brought you right back to me. So, how about this? How about we call it all water under the bridge, and you come back to the Twin Moon. Obviously not as high up as you were going to be had you stayed with Hanzo, but I'm sure we can find a use for you and your, and she looks past you, interesting compatriots.
I think that I am going to shift towards progress, so that is an option, right?
It is.
But as she does that and contemplates her mother's offer, she's going to take a quick glance back towards the Dark Avatar, and then back to her mother. I don't think that I have much of a choice. In trying to fight against you, I only gave you another resource, another person to exploit, Rin. She became just like you. There really isn't. There's no way to win, is there?
And I think, Lu Songshi, back by you, Ying starts to step forward. Do you stop her?
Yeah, let's put a hand on her arm.
And she kind of looks at you, and she kind of motions with her eyes like, we need to do something.
And yeah, Lou will just utter a single word. Wait.
Give me a plead. I think a plead is appropriate here. Again, with plead, you're going to be rolling with harmony. And if you want to use the +1 from chat, you certainly can. All right, so you get a hit, which means that they're going to need something more in order to do it. I mean, they're going to do it, but you just got to give them an extra push. So Ying, in a hushed whisper, says, if we don't do anything, her mother is going to con her back into the Twin Moon. I mean, I like Amarok. I like her. I like her a lot. But she is, look at her. She's floundering. She is about to fall. We have to prop her up.
We need to believe in her.
And I think there is that pregnant pause as Ying just stares at you. And at this point, we return to Amarok's conversation as that's going on behind you.
And at that, Amarok is actually going to take a few steps forward, examining almost like the paraphernalia that are laid out in front of her mother that she's been using to prepare for her gala and the presentation of her campaign, I suppose. Mm-hmm. And is going to then turn to her. You know, that matter of position. I don't know what it was you were trying to do with that lion turtle. It must have been something about creating more benders. You already indicated that you were fascinated by the possibility of having airbenders under your control. That's what you want, of course, in everything. I don't think you understand what I've actually brought you.
And I think Akun just kind of does that, I guess you would call it a domineering move, where she puts one leg over the other in a crossed fashion and just motions for you to continue.
Surely you've heard of the White Lotus Master Yera.
It's kind of hard to miss. What about her?
Well, she's a good deal more skilled today than she was only a few short months ago.
Which I believe is thanks to your friend, the Dark Avatar.
Exactly. If you want to exploit people's bending just like you so expertly exploit everything else, that's something I can offer you.
Now here's the trick question. Is this a trick or is this a plead? Because one way I can see that you're just trying to get in her good graces, but let me ask you directly. Are you actually trying to trick her and get her to lower her guard, or are you genuinely offering this to her?
With the shift towards progress away from her intentions, this is a trick. Yes.
Okay, wanted to be sure, because again, it could have gone either way. So you're going to go ahead and roll creativity, and if chat wants to throw a +1 your way, they can. It should be off cooldown.
Let's roll it straight.
You don't need it.
Nice.
You don't need it. You get a 10. So, and we'll use that +1 for it on the next roll. Thank you, Kukuro. But yeah, you get to pick 2, which means either you get to have the +1 for it against them as they stumble, they're going to act foolishly and they're going to give you an additional opportunity, or they're going to overcommit and deceive for some time. I feel like I ask this every time, but I feel like we always take the second 2 options. Am I wrong?
Yes, you're right.
Okay. I mean, they're just so they're such great options. Yeah. Like, why would you never take that?
Well,
I guess there's use cases for the +1 forward.
But the +1, it's not a guarantee that you'll ever interact with that character in any meaningful way in the session, and they don't roll over. So, like you might as well get an immediate benefit.
Like if it was a +1 ongoing, I'd be like, yeah, that's amazing. But I don't know, +1 for anyways, we're getting in the weeds. So Akun is gonna actually kind of smile a little bit. It's like a smirk, but not quite a full smile. But she says, "Oh, I see. You speak for the Dark Avatar then. Is this true?" And she looks over at the Dark Avatar, and Lu Songshi and Ying looks over and goes, yeah, what Amaruk said. Akun does chuckle a little bit and says, "Oh, well, if you're offering to create an army of special benders for me, how can I refuse?" And at this, Akun actually stands up and walks towards Amaruk, and if you'll let her, she'll kind of do one of those matronly, like, hands on the side of your face. Not quite a Kai Wynn move where she grabs your ear and says your paw is strong, but it's kind of the same sort of motherly, quote-unquote, gesture. She kind of looks into your eyes, kind of looks you over and says, "It's good to have you back, my daughter. I never was one for your younger brother. Don't get me wrong, he does good things, but you, my daughter, you have unique qualities."
And as her face is being clutched, there's actually a moment where her jaw trembles slightly, and a flicker of uncertainty passes over her face that would surely be evident to her mother at least, but perhaps not the rest of the group that are not viewing her at the proper angle. And her voice just cracking slightly and that facade falling away, she says, "That's your opinion has always mattered to me a great deal, Mother."
Also, it occurs to me in my old age that I thought you had a younger brother. That's right, Ran is the older one. Why do I never remember this? Oh well, it's one of those things with age, as you'll come to find out, my daughter, that sometimes your mind just goes. And she kind of pats the side of your face and turns back to the powder station and begins kind of rooting through bits and baubles to like find badges or bits of jewelry, things of that nature. And she still continues with the conversation and says, "So, where to begin? Well, if you're going to be here, and you're going to be here in an official capacity, we might as well mark you as something that won't have people throwing fire and rocks and everything at your face. Here it is." And she comes back to you, and it is a clasp Not quite like a hair clip, but also not quite like a lapel where it would like slip into a pocket. But it's some form of fashion, some form of pin. And it is the emblem of the Twin Moon, which I forget if we've defined before, but if not, I'm just going to say it's basically two spheres. One's the full moon, one's the new moon, kind of merged together kind of a thing. And she shows it to you. And you would know, Amarok, that this is the emblem of a high-ranking officer within the Twin Moons.
And Amarok will just extend a hand, waiting for it.
Now, one thing I wish to be clear, if you're going to wear this tonight, I do expect a demonstration of the Dark Avatar's powers on someone of my choosing. And you're not to fight with either of your ex-fiancés.
That might not be my choice.
Well, if you wear this pin, they won't throw the first punch, because if they do, well, let's just say that I will be very cross with them.
I can put my feelings aside for the good of the family.
Wonderful, wonderful. And as she starts to affix the pin to you, I actually think that this is, again, she's going to try and shift your balance, but instead, she is going to be, almost in a way, she's going to be trying to get you to call out on tradition. So this time, you're going to be doing the deny a call out move, and you are going to roll with tradition this time. And you actually want a lower roll here, so we're still going to save that +1 from chat, just so that, you don't curse yourself here.
Okay.
All right, that's actually extremely good. So you're going to stand strong, and again, you get a choice between clearing a condition, clearing a fatigue, or you can shift your balance, and it can be towards either end. But again, I would think the way to qualify this is she's buttering you up. She's obviously believed what you've said so far, and she's trying to bring you, quote unquote, back into the family. But in the back of your head, you know you're just playing an act. Like you know that even though there's a part of you that wants to just give in, there's still that strong little voice in the back of your head that says, no, we're just keeping up an act. We don't have to give in.
Yeah. So shifting the balance, is it either direction, or does it have to be away from the tradition?
I mean, as I read it, it just says shift your balance, which means you could go towards whichever one you feel.
Okay. Then I think as that emblem is being affixed to her chest, and she gazes up at her mother's face, that same face that she used to look up to as a little girl in her lap, being read to, and the face of the woman who helped to train her, there is that momentary flicker of recognition and empathy and that yearning for parental approval that she knew that she could never actually attain because of her mother's narcissistic tendencies. And yet it still almost like boils up inside of her, and there is that almost tenderness of just the slightest contact with the mother that actually pushes her slightly towards tradition, that she feels that yearning and wants to embrace it, even though she knows that it's just a lie, it's just another manipulation. And as she's fixing that, Amarok asks her, what I don't understand is why.
Why what, my child?
We've always had a communion with the spirits. That's our tradition. If I'm going to be coming back into the fold, if I'm going to try to be what you wanted me to be, I need to know why. Why you would blaspheme them. Why we would just violate them so hideously.
There's an expression which I'm rather fond of, if you do not recall. You need to break a few eggs to make an omelet.
You were never one for poeticisms, Mother.
No, that was
always
more of your forte, unfortunately.
Will you not be honest with me? And that, I think, is a plead.
Yeah, I think that is a plead. Yeah, that's definitely a plead. All right, well, that's going to be a harmony. Let's see. And if you want to use that +1, it is still available.
If that's all right with you, Aaron, I think I will.
Oh, that's fine with me.
Don't even need
Nice.
it, but you still get the full hit. Very nice. So, yeah, they're going to act now, and they're going to be like, very well, in an interest of reestablishing trust, I will give you something. And she kind of leans in and whispers, so only you hear. And Lu Songxi and Ying, if those two want to try and listen in, we can roll for it. But right now, only Amarok hearing. The plan was always to bring back the Airbenders, because the Airbenders are some of the finest warriors and the finest peacekeepers that the land has ever known, at least before the whole Fire Nation killed them all. So I was going to bring them all back, under my employ. And I don't think I have to put 2 and 2 together to tell you it's 4. You must see the value of that.
You would be a hero to the entire world.
And then in a much louder voice, indeed, but unfortunately your friend the Dark Avatar beat me to the punch. And at this, Ying looks between Lu Songxi, Akun, Amarok, and go, yeah, I did. Yeah? What am I agreeing to, Amarok? What am I agreeing to?
It's a good thing.
Then yeah, I totally did it. Yep, whatever I did, yep. Proud to have done it.
Well, Mother, it seems as if, as ever, even the people who defy you are serving you.
And Akun chuckles again and goes, Well, we have... She just fishes around for a clock or a timepiece, and she says, looks like we have about an hour before the full guests begin arriving. You might want to freshen up yourself. I'll give you the room. You have something here, and she motions at your cheek, where she was rubbing earlier. And she gives you a pat on the shoulder, and then, as long as no one stops her, she leaves the room, and it's just the 3 of you in there.
And I think all the energy just draining out of her completely, Amarok is going to collapse down into that chair. And although her head bows, she is actually looking at her reflection in the mirror from out of the sort of corner of her eyes.
Do
I think
we go now?
And yeah, Lou will sort of motion her forward, and before he proceeds, I'd like to make sure that nobody is eavesdropping on us.
How would you like to check that?
So I know it may be, I think a basic move would work here. Since he was a member of the Dai Li, I could perhaps rely on my skills and training.
I was going to say, a skills and training would be nice here. I'll give it to you.
All right.
So again, you're going to be rolling with
Focus.
a focus. Yep. And I tell you what, Ying will mark a fatigue and help you out here. So yeah, between you and yourself, Lu Songxi, you guys go through and check the room. As far as you can tell, there's no little listening bugs, no people waiting like
Nobody
with
at the
a cup
door.
to a wall. There is, or yeah, I meant Ying. There is apparently nobody listening in, like as far as you can tell, unless somebody is quite literally listening from the ceiling, which is kind of 2 stories up. You're clean. You're in the clear here.
Okay. I think at that he'll just sort of turn and come in to where Amarok is and sort of place a hand on her shoulder.
And Amarok just breaks contact with her reflection and looks up at him.
So what now?
I don't know. I just wanted to... And then she actually disregards you entirely and turns over to Ying and, in a very heartfelt tone, says, I'm sorry, I used you. I used your reputation, I used our relationship, our friendship to manipulate my mother. That's what she would do.
The Ying kind of crosses her arms and goes, I mean, it didn't bother me, but, No, we couldn't. Oh, a wonderful idea has just occurred to me. So she thinks that you've come back into the fold, right? And that I'm supposed to give her person of choosing special bending?
Yes.
Well, from what you've told me about your mother, she's kind of gonna probably pick herself. Is that not it?
If she truly believes, she'd be the only one that she'd trust with that kind of power.
Well,
Ying.
here's what I'm thinking, because with waterbending, you can only go so many different ways. There's bloodbending, and there's healing, and I'm pretty sure she probably already has healing. So she's going to try and get access to bloodbending, which again, and Ying looks down at her hands, I still have no idea how that works, where I just kind of do the energy bending thing and they get this. I don't understand how that works. We really need to do some experimentation. But I think this time, I think I could take away her bending for good this time.
And Emmerich, looking slightly troubled as she clenches her hands together and begins rubbing them. Would that really solve anything? It would neutralize her physical threat, but she's still just as powerful politically, and we'd be criminals again.
Well, yeah, I guess that is true. Man, I had this whole, like, fantasy in my head of, like, interrupting her speech and storming up to the podium and go, "You are the reason, blah, 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 blah." And then I do the whole, like, ha, with my two fingers, and I tap her forehead, and she goes, oh, and she loses her bending. And then, you know, the crowd erupts and goes, oh, what is the Dark Avatar doing? I'm gonna shut up now.
That would make a really great scene in a book, but real life is a good deal more complicated than most stories.
Yeah. I'm unfortunately realizing that the more I keep speaking.
Emmerich just, almost for the first time, remembers the little pin on her chest and begins fiddling with it absently. Well, Lou, what do you think? I got us in, that's good. But I think I got us in over our heads.
We've been in over our heads the entire time. But you spend long enough in a certain state, you get used to it. One way or the other, after this rally, I think it's safe to say you probably aren't going to be welcome. So we have to find some way to make that badge matter now. Ideally, we get evidence of something untoward and expose her at her own rally.
I mean, it's not like they would bring something incriminating with them unless they had some plan or reason to use it. But if I know anything about Republic City politics, it's that embarrassment, humiliation, reputation, those things are weapons in their own right. If we can make this grand gala a failure, not because of what we've done, at least on the surface, but because we twist things up, because we subvert her plans and turn them all on their head and use what she planned for her good, destroy her. We can make her a laughingstock or a failure. She'd lose whatever political support she might have, or at least it would compromise her.
And that's what we have to do.
So, how do we do it then? Do we, like, get with that butler guy and poison all the food? Do we, like... I obviously we can't duel anybody at a gala, but how do we go about doing this?
And she smiles wryly and somewhat aggrieved. I think we've learned tonight that Rin still has a bit of a temper and a lot of roiling hatred. And Hanzo, well, Hanzo's a horrible creep. So, there was a fight between the two functional heirs of the Twin Moon, the two people that my mother brought together for her own political purposes, a unification of Hanzo's triad, my mother's, and the Black Blossoms. That would have terrible repercussions politically, socially, and in the underworld.
So we need to get Hanzo and Rin fighting. How are we going to do that?
I think in an uncharacteristic show of childish mirth, Lou will actually chuckle. And for a brief moment, his whole face is just stretched in this rictus grin. And then he snaps back very quickly and says, I have an idea.
With a face like that, I hope it's a good one, because otherwise I'm very concerned about your mental state.
Hear me out. News travels fast, and I'm willing to bet information's already being disseminated about Amarok's return to the fold. Both Hanzo and Rin are aware of all of us. What if... Oh, there he is.
Are we back? I think we're back.
Looks like it.
Okay, yeah, I don't know what it
see
was. Like, Twitch was fine, but I don't know, Zoom just died. Anyway, I'll need you to repeat all of that because I only got about a snippet of it before you froze up.
Right. So, Lou's plan is that they go to Rin and say, since Amarok is back, she's going to be marrying Hanzo.
Okay.
We go to Hanzo and say, to cement the alliance with Rin's gang, and now that Amarok is back, Amarok's mother is going to consent to them marrying the way that they planned to initially. And basically Hanzo's out in the cold, in a manner of speaking. And that way, presumably they'll be close to Amarok's mother on the podium as sort of prominent members, and given both of their extremely prideful natures and violent tempers, they, if we're lucky, they may just fall upon one another.
I like this plan. I like it a lot. And I think
that
Ying just
would
kind of stops for a moment.
seriously embarrass.
Yeah, I think Ying stops for a moment and goes, okay, so am I taking Rin or are you taking Rin?
I think that should probably be me. It would hurt more.
So Lu Songxi and I take Hanzo?
And Ying, you and I will take Hanzo. He's already dismissed me as a non-factor. Tag along for Amarok, perhaps even something as simple as muscle.
And Amarok is actually going to hold up a hand for a moment. It makes sense for me to go to Rin. It does. I just don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. I've already hurt her so much. I know it has to be done. Maybe I need somebody to tell me that. She just sort of looks expectantly at the two of you.
Well, you know what? This is a good opportunity for Lou to use his
The pillar thing where you use your support.
Yeah, guide and comfort.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, uses my and because I see if it's accurate, it looks like Amarok has a fatigue, so we can both remove that fatigue and find something narratively that's interesting, no matter how this roll goes.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, if you want to guide and comfort, that's going to be with Harmony.
And plus, we get one of those. Yeah, we're gonna get one of those patented Liu Sangxi sanctimonious speeches too.
Yeah.
Gotta keep up with the meme. All right, we're gonna roll with Harmony.
Well, let's see what we got. Survey says
Oh no!
it's going to be a miss.
This is interesting.
This is interesting. So, what do you say that doesn't guide and comfort her?
Well, actually, yeah, on a hit, they choose 1 on a 10 plus if they embrace your guidance.
Yeah, there is
so
no
I don't
miss.
think I don't think this. I think I'll speak the words, but it won't have like any like tangible. Perhaps Amarok's too lost in a reverie to really absorb the words. So we'll pretend that Lou says something inspirational about her being stronger than she knows and all that good stuff. But it just sort of falls flat. And he'll end with a, I know you can do it.
I don't want her to hate me any more than she already does, but I guess you do what you have to. Just use people and their feelings to get what you want. That's a great lesson I picked up. I really earned this badge. And she's actually just going to stand up and start walking out, ignoring the two of them.
As you actually start to move past her, Ying actually just doesn't, roughly grab you, but very firmly stops you, just kind of grabs that upper part of your arm and says, "You know what, Amarok? I'm going to regret this probably, but you're not talking to Rin. I am. She already knows you're here. She already knows Liu Sangxi's here. She doesn't know me. That gives me an in. And it gives me more credibility. Whereas if you go, it's just going to be all emotion and she's going to yell at you instead of Hanzo. But if it comes from me, she's going to believe it. Because again, why would I lie?"
And Emmerich just closes her eyes for a moment, nods, looks up and says, "Thank you."
Though there is one thing I do want to try to do after, and she looks at Liu Sangxi, after whatever the heck that was, I want to try something. And in a comical fashion, because you got to have comedy in these sorts of things, she goes over to like one of those costume stands that's probably left over from some play that was held here, long ago, and she pulls out 2 pom-poms and she starts cheering and says, "You feel awesome! You feel great! You can do this!" And it's probably the most absurd thing you've ever seen in your entire life, but Ying is going at it with gusto.
Don't quit your day job, Dark Avatar.
Okay, yeah, it was probably bad, but I did it work? Did I get her to smile?
And there is just more of a smirk than a smile, but she nods appreciatively towards the Avatar and just sort of lets out a calming breath of air. Yeah. She looks back and forth between the two of them. Thanks for being there for me.
Listen,
Whether
if all I
it's,
have to do is embarrass myself, I'll do it, day in and day out, as long as it gets you to smile.
Return the favor, let me know.
Well,
And go ahead.
I suppose I'll find a seat.
But you're not going to
No, Lu Songshi,
help?
I think you're still going to Hanzo. I'm now confused. I've messed with plans, and now I'm confused.
Oh, I was under the impression that... No, you're right. Amarok shouldn't talk with either of them. Yes, I should go with Hanzo.
Okay, let's go before this plan changes again, because I don't know how many more changes I can, All right.
Right.
Now, the one other thing I'm going to say is that as you all are actually leaving this time, and I was waiting for a good moment to explain this, you do take a look at one of the banners or one of the posters for this event. And what you see is that this event is apparently not only announcing in public fashion the 2 stars of the show getting married in the very near future, but it's also announcing, apparently, Akun's bid for the council in an official capacity. So this is kind of both a big moment for Akun, but also a big moment for Hanzo and Rin. So just so you know what the stakes are. But unless you guys want to accomplish anything before everything starts to kick off, actually, let me pause and ask, is there anything that you guys want to accomplish before things start kicking off?
No, I just want to ruin an engagement.
Ruin an engagement. Okay. So what's going to happen is you mill about for about 30 minutes to an hour. After that time, you start to hear the kind of throng of the crowd outside. You hear the standard sort of bouncers checking names against lists, and you see, I forget what they're actually called. Are they sodomobiles? I think they're called sodomobiles.
That's it, yeah.
Where it's just sodomobile after sodomobile is kind of coming up to this grand amphitheater. People are stepping out. It's the whole red carpet thing where people with their cameras are snapping pictures, and it's a whole, high society event. But as people are walking in, Amarok, you do notice a few faces that we might just mention, but again, I do want to have there just in case. You do note that there is your teacher, the one that did your martial arts. I believe her name is Sori. You do see Sori coming down the red carpet. You do also see your older brother, Ran, a sort of slender gentleman. And he is a bit more thin than you remember. Like, he's kind of averagely built before, but now he's definitely the thin sort of rail of a man. Definitely more slender than anything else. He doesn't really seem to notice you noticing him, but he kind of walks with pride and walks with importance. You would also see, if it matters to you, you remember that old man that was kind of eavesdropping on you earlier down in the sewers? Apparently, he has an in because he's coming down the red carpet, and you don't quite catch what his name is, but he does stop for a few photos along the way, so that might be of interest to you. Now, of course, Lu Songshi and Ying both see this all the same way. It just doesn't probably have as much significance because Amarok actually knows these people. Well, I guess you kind of know Old Rickety. Old Rickety's probably going to stand out to you. But
I know Old Rickety, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think the others are going to be like, who's that person, kind of a thing. But is there anything you'd wish to do before I proceed to the actual milling about portion of the event?
Not specifically for me.
Okay.
I think that if they're watching her at all, or if they're noting any kind of emotional responses, they will see that Rin is almost getting lost in a degree of nostalgia for just a little while. She seems aggrieved when she witnesses her brother's physical condition, but she does not seek to approach them or make herself known to them. In fact, if anything, she's almost shying away.
Okay.
But she's not going to try to do anything.
Okay. So, what that's going to mean is probably about 30 minutes after the event, quote unquote, starts, it's gotten into the, social networking side of things where people are just having conversations next to high tables. Servers are walking around with plates of food and bubbly drinks of some sort. And it's one of those things that, again, thanks to your knowledge and efforts, Amarok, the rest of Team Dark Avatar fits in. Now, of course, a few captains, a few sort of the higher-ranking officers do make a few higher-ranking officers do make a point to. I don't think Kotos, or however you're supposed to say it, I don't think I don't think they fully capitulate to you, but they at least show that they recognize your pin. Sort of just kind of a wave of a hand or something that says, I respect you, but I don't trust you, kind of a thing. But as that's happening, I'm going to give Lu Songshi a moment here. Lu Songshi, you notice Hanzo, I guess stalking is the right word. He's kind of stalking around the crowd as if looking hungrily for something or someone.
Yeah, I think Lou is just going to sort of adopt a cocky posturing that is not at all in keeping with his actual personality, but he'll sort of lean up against one of the supporting columns in this great hall and he'll just sort of look at Hanzo for a moment before speaking up and saying, I feel bad for you.
He stops, turns to you and says, I'm sorry, are you referring to me?
Yes, I'm referring to you.
And he actually straightens up a little bit and gets a little bit closer. Then tell me, why would you be afraid of... What was the word you used? Sorry for me?
Oh, yes, I feel sorry for you. I pity you.
And why might that be?
Because you're a pawn.
He just sort of arcs an eyebrow.
You know you work for somebody. You know why you work for them. But you don't know what they're going to do to you in 25 minutes.
And what, pray tell, is that? Are you here to make me question my allegiance? Because if so, you're doing an awful poor job of it. Hold on. I know you somewhere. Oh, you're with the songbird that got away from me. Is she here? I would like to see her at some point.
Well, I don't know if you've heard, but she's back. She's back in the fold, in the good graces of her mother. And
preposterous. Akun would never take her back.
I was there. I was in the room. I saw her pin the badge to her chest myself.
And here's the question, what the hell do I make you roll? Because it's not a plead, it's not a trick, it's not an intimidate.
I think if I can suggest, when I actually spin my yarn, then I roll trick.
And I think that's fair, yeah, let's do that.
So she's back. Back in the fold. And we know there's an announcement that two important, two guests of honor, shall we say, are going to have an engagement announcement. And, well, I happen to know that Amarok returning changes what that announcement is going to be. And it's not looking good for you, Hanzo. You see, Rin's far more valuable as a political ally in Republic City. You're an instrument. And I think you're about to see your fortunes fall sharply at the end of this rally. Because I happen to know that Amarok's mother has consented to her original preference for a partner. And Lou will sort of gesture to, his
The
neck
necklace.
as if a betrothal necklace. So all I can say is I hope you like backwater postings and limited prospects.
All right, well, I'm going to make this
And
very
that's
clear
trick.
so the chat tries to get maybe a +1 for you all. That's definitely a trick. It might be the most important trick we've ever rolled, but it's going to be a
Please give me a
creativity roll.
+1.
We are not. There you go. Thank you, Kakura. There's your +1. There you go. Unfortunately, I'm going to make it clear,
Always
there is
coming
no
through.
one near you to assist, so the only help you're getting is from chat right now.
Don't even need it.
Don't even need it. That's a 14.
That's-
Jeez. And I'm going to assume you want the bottom two options?
Well, Well, of course.
Okay.
Of course. And I think
Okay.
really, just so it makes narrative sense what he's going to do, Lou's just going to lean in and say, now remember, this isn't set in stone. Plans are always in motion. You know, these water benders and their fluidity. Make a statement. Put Rin in her place. And Amrook's hand can still be yours.
And there is the crack of knuckles, which hopefully came across the mic. I'm hoping it did. But you hear just muscles tensing, teeth clenching, knuckles popping, and he goes, I may have thought less of you for your little display at the armory, but what do you get out of all of this? Are you here to ask for my help in something? Or are you just being a good Samaritan?
Many think that my association with my compatriots is because of the Dark Avatar. It's not. I'm Amarook's bodyguard. And I would sooner see her with you than with a criminal.
And he kind of pats you on the shoulder. Very well. I want to know your actual name. I actually give enough of a shit to know your name. What is it?
Oh. I'm
frantically scrambling to name generate. Let's get a name.
No. I'm gonna reuse it. I'm gonna dust off an old chestnut. I don't really like my name. It's Lunk Boulder.
You poor silly little man. Well, I apparently have some unfinished business, and he kind of straightens his suit, straightens his tie. You and I will have a long discussion with Amarook after tonight's events. And then unless you stop him...
Lou will bow. No, Lou will bow and just say, you'll have my support.
Now, on the flip side of things, we do see Ying, the Dark Avatar, go say hi to Rin, but that would be me talking to myself and isn't important. So you're going to both see it happen. You're going to see Rin get heated, get angry, start shouting to the point that, people around her, start looking at her. But Rin eventually storms off, and you come back to Ying comes back to both of you and goes, okay, I think I really ticked her off, and I think she really believes that she can get you back, Amarook. It's this really weird thing where I think I accidentally may have given her some false hope. Okay, I did it. You know what? I can't do the speeches like Lu Songshi. I did it.
It may not be false hope if it's true. But that being said, Hanzo is, not to brag, but extremely livid.
I'm sorry, can we go back like 5 sentences just to actually getting you back? Did she say that she wanted that?
Well, I kind of floated the idea that you kind of have been wearing her betrothal necklace this entire time you've been traveling with me, and how you keep touching it as a sign of strength, and how you always look to it and you never take it off even when bathing, and she took that to mean that you were apparently head over heels for her still. So yes.
Emerald,
yes, Lou.
Take it from a guy who is oblivious to anything romantic. Even I could tell she had very strong feelings for you still, because nobody who didn't care would get that angry.
Well, this kind of ruins any chance of reconciliation, considering what we've just done, doesn't it?
Well, no, I think she's gonna like either go, oh, look at that, and you all turn to look as you see Rin and Hanzo begin approaching each other in the Great Hall, and Hanzo, kind of coming up high and mighty, and Rin just literally goes for a sucker gut punch as hard as she possibly can, to the point that you hear across the entire Great Hall as Hanzo reels back and as the wind is knocked out of him, and Rin begins shouting, I never liked you. I never wanted to marry you. I did it because a coon told me to. So you know what? And she takes the ring on her finger, rips it off, throws it down so hard it bounces and shatters across the floor. You and I are done. You hear me? Done. And then Hanzo, finally getting his breath back, goes, It's funny. It's funny you say that, because I was going to do the same to you. Because if I have my way, you're not getting Amarok either. That little songbird is mine. And at this point, they begin to square off, getting ready to bend against each other. And that's where we're going to go to break, because we have to do so for dramatic tension. So we'll be back in about 5 to 10 minutes. Stick around. All right, and welcome back to part 2 of Season 2, Episode 2 of Rise of the Dark Avatar. If you're just joining us, well, let's just say things have gotten out of hand. But not for Team Dark Avatar this time, actually. It's something that Team Dark Avatar has done to others, which I guess is a good thing. In any event, my point is that the gala they are attending, this high society political rally, the guests of honor, Hanzo, Amarok's would-be fiancé, and Rin's wanted-to-be fiancé, are now in the middle of the hall duking it out like no one's business. And we resume maybe about 30 seconds after water and bits of glue and other bits of technological weapons have been unsheathed and being fired. The gala is very quickly turning into a ballroom brawl. It's one of those things where the people nearest to Rin and Hanzo are definitely trying to get away, as explosions, as water slashes, everybody's kind of screaming and running away. But some people are taking the opportunity to use the chaos to steal food, steal drinks, steal jewelry, all, and of course, everybody's like looking in one way, they're... what kind of rally you were at. Your mother's the head of a crime family. They're going to take the opportunity. But above it all, what probably sets you guys in knowing that you've done a good job is a coon coming down one of those spiral staircases to the main floor, and she stops about halfway down and just looks over the chaos. She looks to where Rin and Hanzo are fighting and duking it out, and then she almost immediately looks to Team Dark Avatar, and her eyes narrow in a way that you've never seen her this furious before, ever, Amarok. This is new, and whether that scares you or not is your call, but she is livid isn't even a good enough word to describe what a coon is right now.
And Amarok is just going to sort of scratch the back of her neck and turn over to Lou. I think we're really in trouble.
I would agree. That is the face of a dangerous-minded woman.
Yeah, when I saw that fight, and there's like this crashing and clattering in the background as gouts of water that are freezing into ice just fly in the background. When I said, Rin was like 30% as dangerous as my mother, I think I really overestimated. I think we're going for like 5%. 5%.
All right. Well, I think it's safe to say that whatever we might have done, Rin and Hanzo are also in danger.
Can we extract her from danger and leave him in it?
I think we should try.
Right. All right.
So at this point, to give you a picture of what's happening, all the water that Rin is bending is coming out of those bubbly glasses of liquor from before. So she's liquor bending technically, but the ice and the water and all that is coming from the drinks. Hanzo isn't bending, but he's resorting to technological moves where he's kind of like throwing bits of like firecrackers or smoke bombs or bits of glue to try to slow Rin down. He's taking the technological approach. But probably the most important thing for me to qualify is that Akun has started to walk down, still with that scowl on her face. So in terms of exchange here, since we're in a bit of a unique situation, at the moment, no one in Team Dark Avatar is engaged with anybody, which means you're not actively in the fight. You're just sort of on the sidelines. For sake of game clarity, Rin and Hanzo are engaged with each other. Akun is also not engaged, but will be engaged next encounter. So with all that in mind, let's go ahead and let me switch to the red petals as we enter into our first encounter. So what would you guys like to do? Because again, you guys pick first.
I would like to defend and maneuver.
Okay.
I think evade and observe.
Evade and observe. Okay. And I think Ying's also going to do evade and observe. So, since you are doing defend and maneuver first, Lu Songshi, you do get to go first here.
All right. Here we go with focus. Come on now.
You get a full hit, so you can. Okay, so real quick here, since we messed up a little bit on the techniques. Remind me, did I give you the metal thing, the metal bending at mastered?
You gave me you gave it at learned.
Okay, so if it is learned, you can mark 1 fatigue to use just that because you rolled a 10 plus. But if you use it and you spend the fatigue, it becomes practiced, which means you don't have to spend the fatigue to use it.
Beautiful. I think I'm going to do that.
Okay.
And I think as Akun is sort of coming down the stairs, Lou just sort of sets himself, and I picture there are a couple of very like ornate candelabras or maybe chandeliers.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And they start to flex, and pieces of them tear free. And before Akun has a chance to react, her hands are bound in front of her as Lou uses metal bindings. So she is actually impaired and can't remove that status until either the fight ends or she is able to metal bend.
Quick observation. I'm gonna still let this happen because you're
sorry. That's metal bindings is actually evade and observe.
Yeah. So okay. So what I'll say is your metal bindings will happen, but let's see what the rest of the thing plays out.
And also with that, my it would still be a full hit. It would just be 1 less, so it would still be a 10.
Still be
10 plus.
Okay.
So yeah. So let's just say that's. Sorry, I missed that. I thought the
quite all right.
was...
we're all still learning. We're good. All right.
Yeah.
Well, the good news is that Akun is simply going to defend a maneuver to seize a new position, so she's going to come up behind Hanzo. Again, can't do anything, but she is right behind Hanzo, ready to act.
Ooh. Can I flavor this a little bit?
What you got?
So I just kind of want to flavor the way that Hanzo perceives this.
Okay.
So Hanzo knows Lou is an earthbender and knows that he can metal bend. And Lou specifically said, "You'll have my support when the time comes." So I want basically Hanzo to make that connection, even though Lou's not trying to protect him at all. But I want him to have that impression if that's possible, or you think that makes sense narratively.
I think we can make it happen. So, on the advance and attack, well, I think it's pretty obvious that Rin and Hanzo are going to attack each other. Specifically, and the reason I'm doing this out, because I actually am keeping track of both fatigues here and their conditions. So Hanzo's going to go first, and he is going to use what looks to be this kind of bottle of fluorescent liquid, but he is going to throw out this glass bottle, which is going to shatter on the floor in front of Rin, and there's almost like a puff of smoke that then there's this acrid smell of what out of character you would recognize as chlorine gas or ammonia and bleach combined. You don't want to smell it. But what that's going to do to Rin, at least in the fiction, that is going to impart the impaired and inflict 1 fatigue on Rin. Now Rin, as all this is happening, is going to go for a little bit of water bending, and she is going to opt to wrap Hanzo's legs in ice. So she's going to mark 2 fatigue, and he's going to be considered trapped. Now we come to Evade and Observe, where Hanzo kind of looks over his shoulder as there's that ping of metal as Lu Songshi, as your thing goes to Akun behind him, and he kind of looks for you in the crowd, maybe catches your eye and nods. Now it is Amaruk's turn, and then it'll be Ying's turn.
Okay, so I will roll with creativity.
And it looks like you get a full hit. Very nice.
No, just a regular hit.
Oh, sorry, I'm looking through all. You're right, yeah.
Yeah, not a problem. If you want to give me a full hit, I'll take that. But
I mean, if you take the +1 from chat that gave you, you could make it a full hit.
I'd say do it.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, there you go.
In that case, noting the locations on Hanzo's body that he has withdrawn these various different gadgets, smoke bombs, pellets, and the chlorine gas bomb from, Amaruk is going to almost like draw up with a sweeping motion some of the liquid that's been spilled on the floor, and then with a series of pinpoint strikes, freezing ice essentially into to trap those areas, she's going to hit the belt and try to use break to disable some of the material that he's got, or to, I guess, deny him access to some of the weapons by encasing them in ice or destroying them.
Yeah, and it looks like, yeah, you just do it. There is no additional cost afforded. So yeah, I'm going to say that you basically break his Batman's tool belt, as we'll flavor it. And yeah, you render him not inert, but he's definitely not able to fight as he once was. Which now is going to come to Ying's turn, and she kind of looks at Lu Songshi and goes, I was going to get her. All right, fine. And she begins airbending, just one of those solid spheres of air, and she's going to push that chlorine gas away from Rin in a way that Rin is not going to be taking the impaired action. She's still going to take the fatigue, but she's not going to be the impaired at the end of the day. So at this point, that's the end of the first exchange. All this has happened. Akun is bound. Hanzo is frozen to the deck. Rin is fuming, but isn't literally fuming, and all of you are considered engaged at this moment. So we now move to the point between exchanges where we don't have to continue the exchange, but if you want to throw another punch, this is the moment to do it.
We have to find some way to get Rin out of there.
And what I would say is there is no wrong answer here. And that is something that whenever I do the video, I'll mention this. An exchange only really starts happening when bending or full combat moves start coming into the fray. So technically, if you want to rely on your skills and training, or if you want to push your luck, you can do that between exchanges. Well, the question is again, how do you do it?
I mean, Matthew, I don't want to put like words in your mouth or anything, but if Amaruk used plead to try to sway Rin to leave with us, or I guess flee with us is more accurate, that might prompt her to say, seize a position and disengage.
I wanted to say that I was sort of like debating in my own mind before I answered whether Amaruk would almost press the advantage against her mother just in this spurt of rage, or if she would default to Rin. So I guess that's the question that was just sort of percolating in my mind while I was waiting for you. But
that's a good question.
I think because of that earlier encounter wherein she pushed herself towards tradition in recognition of that sort of sense of connection, the ire that she felt towards her mother and continues to feel has been mitigated to some degree. So instead, seeing that her hands have been bound and she is not at least immediately a threat until she, I don't know, starts bloodbending people or the like, Amaruk is going to leap forward and what is Rin's condition now? What is she doing at this juncture?
She's kind of panting heavily, getting her breath back into her, because she took some of the chlorine gas, but not all of it. So, a little bit winded there. She looks a little bit roughed up. If I had to qualify, she's probably a 3 out of 10 marked, if you catch my drift. But, she kind of looks as you start to approach or start to look in her direction, and she flashes you a thumbs up and a smile.
And Amaruk is just going to grin stupidly and in the most massive fashion that you've ever seen from her, and throw 2 thumbs up, and then wince slightly as she sees sort of this coughing hack come from Rin, race up to her and put a hand to her back, both comforting, and I'd also like, if it's possible, I know that it's a technique that you'd use in fighting, but could I use refresh here? If not, that's fine, but
I'm going to say if you want to use refresh, we have to go into another exchange. But if you want to just rely on your skills and training to heal her just enough that she can walk and get out on her own power, that I could let happen.
That would be fully acceptable. Yeah.
All right,
just
cool.
to clear her lungs so that she is able to make this escape.
All right. Well, then I believe you're doing a rely on your skills and training, which is a focus.
Let's botch this.
Oh,
No?
you
Okay.
actually get a 7. So what's going to happen is you do clear the poisoned air from her lungs. You're able to get that out of her. But the imperfect, the unexpected consequence of you doing this is that... How do I want to do this? Because I have to be very careful how I do this next. I think what's going to happen is she's going to fall forward kind of towards you in a comforting manner. But as she's doing so, and she doesn't even realize she's done it in the moment, she's going to kind of get a finger underneath that betrothal necklace. And as you catch her, it's going to snap and fall away. But in the moment, you're not going to notice it. Ying and Lu Songshi can notice it, but you do not notice it.
Okay. I think just wholly fixated on her and the concern that she has for Rin's well-being in that little fainting spell because of the lack of oxygen and the sort of the chlorine gas and the sort of almost the fact that she's been drowning partially. Amaruk is going to try to capture as best as possible and then make off with her, just sort of half carrying her, half dragging her, as best as her small frame can accommodate.
Okay. Lu Songshi, what are you doing while all this is happening?
I want to, if I can, try to snatch that necklace and make good my own escape.
Okay. I think that's probably going to be a push your luck on your part. So if you want to roll with passion here, and I think chat's off cooldown, but I think your usual chat buddy is currently AFK, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. All right.
I will say that I didn't use that +1 when I got the hit of 9 because I didn't take 2 moves. So I think we should still have 1.
That's true. You would
All
still
right.
have the +1.
I'm gonna use it.
All right. Well, you got an 8, which means that you're going to do it, but just going to be at a cost. So the cost is going to be that as you go to snatch up the necklace, I think Hanzo's going to put 2 and 2 together, and just a look of rage and betrayal comes across his face, and he yells back at you, "I will punch you to the ends of the earth, you swine! You, and he just goes on expletives that I'm not going to, do on stream, but he goes into a tirade of sorts, insulting your lineage, your birth, etc., etc., etc. And he makes it very clear that he will find you, he will kill you,
Or have I made an enemy?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
You've made it an enemy for life.
Phenomenal.
But yeah.
I mean, we were already enemies for life, so that's okay.
No, he just transferred his object of fixation from Amarok to you, which is
Yeah.
You're gonna love that little songbird.
So now we come to Ying, and Ying is gonna look at everything happening. She's gonna see you two bolting out of the room. She's gonna see that, you know, some of the people around her are still like trying to watch the fight but don't want to get too close, and she turns and announces to everyone, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is why you should not endorse a coon for city council. She cannot even maintain order at her own political rally. Trust me on this one, I'm the Dark Avatar. And as everybody goes, wait, the Dark Avatar? She says, all right, peace! And then she starts running for the door. Now, where you run next is kind of important. So there's going to be a moment where you guys are outside in an alleyway discussing where to go next. And Rin is still kind of catching her breath, so she can't really contribute. But Ying kind of runs up and goes, okay, I think that went really, really well, but we need to get the hell out of here. Where are we going? Where are we going?
Well, back to Black Blossom territory? We can't go back underground. They know that's where we were staying.
Yes, and that old rickety guy was there. He may be
I
working
was
for them for all
wondering
we
when
know.
you'd notice me. And you all jump, and he's just sort of standing in the alleyway, you know, looking at you all. Old Rickety, what are you doing here? Oh, well, you know, the Republic City's best reporter. You have to get your scoop, and, well, Dark Avatar, you've given me a wonderful scoop. And Ying just looks at Lu Songqi and Amarok. What's a scoop? Is that a good thing? I'm not. What?
Yes.
In this case, yes, I think it's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she's going to turn to the old man. Isn't like the first principle of being a reporter not getting involved in your stories?
Oh, no. See, that is a very beginner mistake. You must be close and personal with your stories. That way, when you write, it comes from the heart.
You know, I empathize with that. That is a very touching sentiment. That all writing, yeah, that's. I'm gonna take that down. I have to experience something in order to tell a good story about it.
But I understand that you're looking for a place to stay.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I might know a guy or two that could get you something that even a coon would have problems finding.
What would this cost us?
Oh, just your exclusivity in future stories involving the Dark Avatar and her team.
Well,
In other words, I want pictures of the Dark Avatar. Bring them to me, Peter Parker.
well, Amarok likes books, therefore she must also like writing, and so can send you regular letters about what it is that we're up to.
That would actually be marvelous. I've never had a pen pal.
Oh, I wouldn't call it quite a pen pal because I would like exclusive interviews at some point with each of you, but yes, this is quite good. Then let me reintroduce myself. My name is Smithers. And Amarok, since you are from Republic City, you can confirm that he is with the Republic City Gazette, the #1 newspaper in Republic City. Smithers is the best journalist they have, like far and above. His op-eds, his stories, they always are paper sellers, no matter what they are.
Did you write that expose on Carrot Corporation's, what was it? The drug smuggling ring? Working out of
the
their
drug smuggling
their
ring, the problems with the sotomobiles.
Sorry.
I've got my hands in many pies.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
We need to go.
Right. Well, we'll need to use that sewer over there. And he kind of points across the street at where there's a sewer cap that just needs to be popped off, and then you can hop inside.
All right then. I'll just, if it's all right with you, I'll just sort of metal bend it up.
Not an issue. Yeah, you pop that lid, you hop in. Lid comes swirling back down and lands neatly just as Republic City's police in their blimps and their automobiles come driving up to restore order to the political rally. But we're going to shift now probably about, let's say about an hour, maybe 2 hours later. Smithers has got you set up in not quite a warehouse, but also not quite an abode near some of the docks on the southern side of Republic City. And you would know that you're fairly close to Black Blossom territory, but not in it, is the clarification here. As far as places go, it's basically a big empty room, which you were already in before, but this one at least smells better. And there's actually a couch and a chair for you guys to sleep on. Yeah, not much, but better than what you had. But as Smithers leads you in and shows you this place, he goes, This is something the Sotomobile people gave me in case I ever needed to store stuff, and I think it's perfect for you kids."
Well, I appreciate it. This will be fine.
Excellent. Well, I have a paper to write and Dark Avatar, if you could look this way. And she goes, "Huh? What? Ka-ching! Oh, yes, that will do nicely. Well, have a good one. I'll be in touch." And Smithers walks off. And at this point, Rin's gotten her breath and goes, Okay. What the hell just happened?
That's going to take some time to explain. First, Amarok,
Yes.
can you take that pin off?
Oh, good lord. And she just rips it, nearly tearing the clothing, and tosses it off into the corner.
And Lou will produce the betrothal necklace. Says, and you dropped it. And he'll just toss it to her.
And then she sort of makes a fumbling grasp for it. You could've
Roll
just
push
handed
your
it to
luck.
me.
Let's see if you actually catch it. It's like,
Is that just a 2d6 or?
No, let's make it a push your luck because I'm that evil. So yeah, it's gonna be a passion. Let's see if you catch it.
It is just 2d6.
Hey, all right, you catch it. You're good. You're good.
You just look silly.
Yeah, you do look a little bit silly.
And I guess looking up from where she has sort of stumbled, not quite to her knees, but is bent over slightly, and as she rises, looking up at him, she's gonna scowl. You could have just handed it to me, but thanks.
On the plus side, I don't think Hanzo hates you more than anything in the world anymore. I think he hates me more than anything in the world now.
To be fair, it was more of a sort of desire for possession and control that is really rather common amongst the circles I was running with, rather than hatred. But
he swore my destruction.
No, he hates you.
By his yes.
It wasn't really hatred towards me.
No, correct. And
You're better off.
I agree. And Lou will just sort of turn to Rin and say, "I'm sorry about the way I behaved to you earlier."
This is gonna sound cliche, but water under the bridge. And I would say, Amrek, for the first time when Rin says that, you see the old Rin when she says that. Just for a moment. It's not very long, but you do see it.
And nodding her head with a slow smile, Emmerich is just then going to say, the only one who was really a coward was me. That's what he called you, right?
And I think everybody's just silently staring at Amarok because Rin wants to say something but doesn't. Ying wants to say something but doesn't.
Yeah, I don't know how we how this stops being awkward.
I think it starts with the truth. Rin, what Ying told you about Hanzo wasn't true.
Well, I figured that much out after the second bottle he threw at me, but, I mean, that wasn't true. Or, sorry, that wasn't a falsehood. And she points at the betrothal necklace. That much was true.
No. No, that wasn't a falsehood at all. In fact, that's the... In all the time that I've known Amruk, I've never seen her without it.
And Emmerich, just looking up from the necklace that she folds slightly and puts into her breast pocket, is then going to look for her pack and remove that journal that she's always writing in. She opens it up towards the end and shows just how sort of far she has gotten into it, and closes it again. I never let go of this either.
And if you'll permit me to do so, Matthew, I think Rin is going to smile, take 2 steps towards you. She's going to kind of go for the kiss. Whether or not you reciprocate is up to you. But in the kissing motion, she's going to actually take the betrothal necklace and the journal away. And as she comes back from the kiss or the failed kiss, whichever you'd prefer, she smiles and says, "I'll get you a new one of these," holding up the book. "And this," holding up the betrothal necklace, "you deserve something better."
And after the kiss is reciprocated, Emmerich is going to actually hold out her hand and say, that was from you. I couldn't have asked for anything better than that.
Well, now you'll get something even better from me. But I imagine the triads are quite literally calling for heads, and probably going to be a lot of problems for me to deal for night. But I know where you are now, and I won't breathe a word of it to anybody in my organization, so I'll be in touch. And she flashes one of those genuine smiles again, and then turns to the Dark Avatar and says, "You are an enigma. I hope you realize that." And then she smiles and leaves the warehouse. At which point Ying looks back at Amruk and goes, "Okay, I like to pretend I know words sometimes, but what the hell's an enigma?"
Oh, it's a quandary. And she's just sort of flustered and sort of mixing up her words.
It's a mystery.
Mystery? Oh, I quite like that. The mysterious Dark Avatar. And
I think that went about as well as it could have.
Yeah, I was saying, right as you say that's as well as it could have, Hosa walks in, the big sheer shoe just kind of walks in, looks between all of you, goes sniff, and then just sits down next to Ying. "Oh, good, Hosa, you're here too. Hi, how you doing?" Wait, Lu Songshi, you still got those lizard on a stick? Do you still have those?
Oh, I thought I left them with you.
I thought... Amruk, do you have them?
They're still in the alley.
Yeah. I mean, we could send somebody out to get more. Hosa certainly deserves it for not really doing anything in our sort of escapades, but being a faithful companion.
And Hosa just, if it had eyes, it would give you the look, but your shoes don't have eyes, so it just kind of points its nose in your general direction. The tongue flits out just a little bit, but doesn't actually hit you. And then it just looks back down to the ground and kind of does that cat thing where it just sits there.
Sorry, we all have our off days. It's just, yeah. You want me to go get those? I think I need to take a walk and clear my head.
I don't know if it's a good idea for any of us to go anywhere alone, and maybe we spend a night here before we go anywhere. You know, let the heat die down just a tad.
I mean, that does make sense.
On the plus side, though, Ying says as she pulls out 2 sandwiches, "I learned sandwich bending while we were at the gala."
How did you find a master for that so quickly?
Well, you remember Timothy, the guard that you kind of yelled at on the way in? I was talking to him, and he basically let me back into the kitchen, and I did what I thought Chazo would do in the situation, and I made sandwiches.
That was remarkably thoughtful of you.
I figured we were going to need food at some point, so...
Yeah, I could eat. Yeah. No meat in there, is there?
No, for you, this one is cauliflower. What was that other fancy dish? It began with a C. Couldn't remember what it was, but it's all vegetable supposedly. So hopefully it meets with your liking. And then
so
for Song Shi, turnips. Here we are. Turnip sandwich. Here you go. Just as you like it. And for me, I just have a bunch of strips of jerky. That's what I got.
Not even in a sandwich? That would
I
be
mean,
an
I
odd
thought
sandwich,
about it, but I mean, the jerky looked kind of nice, and Timothy said it was something called caviar, but in jerky form. I have no idea what caviar is, but I'm eager to find out.
That is an enigma right there.
A mystery?
It suits you, yes. Yeah. It's very fitting for the Dark Avatar.
Well, I gotta try it now. And the final moment in this session is she bites into it as the camera pulls back, and she goes, "Oh my lord, that is not a mystery I wanted to know." And that's where we'll end today's session. Oh lord. So yeah, what'd you guys think? I think that was an excellent part 2 to what we had set up from last time.
Would agree.
Yep, I don't think that could have gone any better.
Well, it could have for Hanzo, but we just like dumping on Hanzo here.
We don't like him here.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in, and we'll hopefully be back next week all the same. YouTube and podcast, this is where we say goodbye, but Twitch, let's raid somebody.